All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Radio, very excited to be chatting with an individual who competes at BKFC Prospect Series 3, which goes down on January the 27th. And a very intriguing heavyweight affair as Matt Adams knuckles up and toes the line against Juan Adams, and great having Juan on the show. How are you doing there, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm super excited about the fight.
Yeah, and I'm curious when this got on your radar, because I was seeing on your Twitter on like December 18th you'd announced the bare knuckle boxing effort, but like when did the bout offer actually come your way, and like when did the initial dialogue get rolling for this BKFC fight?
It actually was like at the tryout that they had in Albuquerque. Initially, I wasn't going to go because everyone was always like, oh, are you ever going to do bare knuckle? So I'm a little too creative to be doing all that, but, you know, whatever happens, happens. And, you know, I had 2 or 3 MMA fights fall through, and I haven't fought in 6 months now, and I just realized I love combat. I love all forms of it, so I just made a deal with myself, and I'm going to take whatever's available next. So we went to the tryout, and I was at the tryout, and just kind of piecing everybody up. Yeah, I could probably do this. These guys boxing isn't good. So they loved me at the tryout. They asked if I'd be interested in doing it, if I thought I could sell tickets. So yeah, I definitely think I could, and I've just been really itching to do something to compete again, and you know, I couldn't even get like local jiu-jitsu matches, so I said, you know, screw it, let's do it, and that's what happened. So I talked to Kevin, talked to some of the other guys there, and they were all about it, so I just jumped on, took the first opportunity we had.
And I mean, what a way to be making the debut. I was reading an article the other day talking about how, like, a lot of the BKFC Albuquerque cards are, like, among the most attended the company has done in their entire history. So that's kind of cool. I mean, a big raucous crowd and everything for this debut effort for you.
Yeah, man. You know, I'm used to competing in front of big crowds. Most of my fights I've had, you know, sold out arenas and stuff like that. Even back in college, there were times that I had, you know, super packed out places I got to compete in. So, you know, that the crowd doesn't really bother me as much anymore. It's going to be my hometown crowd. Probably a lot of my students are going to be there. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of curious how you may or may not have handled your preparations differently for this BKFC fight. Like, obviously, the grappling elements subverted from an MMA camp, etc. But like, how are you handling it differently, if at all? Are you bringing in new techniques or ways of conditioning yourself to a bare knuckle camp, or like, how are you curating the preparations, I guess?
It's actually very different. So in MMA, you know, because it's multiple styles, because there is the grappling thread and the element of that in there, and grappling's my background, I kind of view like the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling aspects of it as a recipe. It's also 5-minute rounds, so it's a little bit different. Normally I don't run. I hate running with a passion. So, but for boxing, it's kind of a tool of the trade. You have to do it. So I'm doing a lot more footwork, and my endurance, it's a different muscle group, and it's a different type of endurance because it's 2-minute rounds. So you want to be, you know, explosive for 2 minutes, use that break, and go from there. Whereas in MMA, it's more of like a full 5-minute grind for the whole time. So it's just slightly different training. I'm running more, focusing a lot more on, you know, upper body and arm conditioning. You know, in MMA, there's times where you can put your hands down for a little bit and kind of rest in that space, that distance. But in bare knuckle, the guy's always going to be trying to close in on you because it's only a 2-minute round. And 2 minutes feels a lot longer than what it is when you're exhausted. So if I just make sure I'm not exhausted, I can, you know, keep that going. So there's a lot more cardio going into this than there are in MMA bouts, and also with bare knuckle, they do allow a little bit more clinch work and kind of a dirtier style of boxing, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, I love to hear that. And yeah, the cardio does seem a fair bit different. Like, it almost seems like a sprint as compared to, like, I mean, not necessarily a marathon in MMA, but a bit more of a longer duration of race. Like, I mean, ultimately, you might not know until you actually make the debut, but I guess even in the preparations, are you feeling like the, I guess, 2-minute increment style of BKFC pacing is, like, something you're really enjoying, or, like, adapting to it smoothly? I guess, like, what are your thoughts on the differentiation there, I guess?
I'm actually enjoying it. It is very different. Like again, I stated that I hate running, but I'm having to do a lot more intervals in my running, which I also don't like. I'm not a big fan of sprints or hard pushes. I kind of prefer the slow grinding style, just consistent power over 5 minutes as opposed to short bursts of explosion. But I am enjoying it because, it's only 2 minutes of work, then I get a little break, and then do it again. But it's a lot like college wrestling. I mean, we did 3-minute format in college wrestling, just 3-minute round, 2-minute round, 2-minute round. So it's kind of helping me get back to that. It's a lot more fun. I'm enjoying it a little more. And the adrenaline, you don't worry as much about the adrenaline dump when it's short.
Yeah, right on. And something I was noticing on your BKFC profile that I thought to get some insights on, just we're talking about new things going on and stuff like that. It seems like you got like a podcast on the go from what I was seeing. Like, how has that been as a creative / expressive outlet for you? Like, have you been enjoying that? And yeah, I mean, give the podcast a shout out, get some people tuning in. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, no, it's super fun, and I haven't actually posted on there for almost a year, kind of going more different direction with everything with it, because I got international certified in social emotional learning, so I've been trying to really focus on that and really figure out a good way to integrate that into what I already talked about. Prior to that, it was a lot of philosophy. I kind of go into some of the deep dives of things that I deal with on the daily, whether it's, dating or just concepts in general. I wanted to apply it on. I did a couple before that, kind of cataloging some stuff I was doing for my own mental health out here through treatment of, the depressive episodes that I used to, frequently have a lot more. And it's been fun. It's a great creative outlet, and it's all energy at the end of the day. You have to be able to transmute all energy into something productive, something creative. And finding the way to do that has been really uplifting for me, and it's really been a good catharsis.
Yeah, I love hearing that, and cool to hear about the personal work and stuff like that. That's something that I'm trying to do, so I mean, I appreciate that, and I mean, I think something people can definitely get a lot out of. But I guess I'm curious as to where you're kind of honing the tools here ahead of this one, because over the years it seems like you've gotten some great work at JacksonWink MMA, but also some other gyms over the years like PCS and things of that nature. Like, whereabouts are you training ahead of this BKFC Albuquerque fight?
JacksonWink mainly. Leo. One of our buddies there at the gym, Leo, he's a pro boxer. So I love working with him. But he's 6'5" like me, so that's a little different. But I'm finding a way to just kind of go in there. There's a couple of boxing gyms that are allowing me to kind of use their stuff. And that was super fun, and it's been a lot of fun doing it. And there's other boxers or guys that'll come in that want to work their boxing, and I get to get some rounds in with. And since my opponent's so much shorter than me, going with some of the lighter weights, pretty much everyone is smaller than me, so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you touched on your opponent there. I'm curious, I guess, how the tape study / stylistic awareness might go for you, because I know some fighters really enjoy getting into the minutia, like really studying all the tape they can on their opponents, whereas some guys, it kind of like, you know, gets in the way a little bit in as far as like getting in the way of focusing on their own efforts, and then they're focusing on what the opponent might do too much. I'm curious what your, I guess, awareness of Matt Adams might be heading into this fight.
You know, I honestly, I watch a couple things if my coaches really want me to watch it. They love hearing my thoughts on a lot of stuff, but for the most part, man, I trust my coaches. I tell them, hey, this is the opponent. What do you think? Most of the time, I say I've already accepted the fight, so like, let's figure out a game plan to win. And I just focus on executing whatever it is they tell me. And that's what we do. And the biggest thing right now they told me is, cardio and use your legs. Your wrestling is going to help you in this one because you're the taller, bigger guy. You'll be able to utilize the clinch a little bit better. You'll be able to do X, Y, and Z. So that's what we work. That's what I work in all my pad sessions. And then it's just repetition, repetition, repetition. If I see something in there that I think might work, I ask them their thoughts on it. I try it out in sparring, and right now in sparring it's fun because when I'm fighting my style, a lot of times a lot of guys don't want to fight that style, so it turns into me chasing for like 5 minutes. Whereas now, like trying new stuff, actually get to engage, work a little bit of reflexes, work a little bit of time, work my defense a little more, and it's been fun to see that. The stuff that I've always been working on, actually getting it used in sparring, and hopefully that's a precursor to the fight, because a lot of times what will happen is, if I focus too much on my game plan in the fight, my sparring partners can't really emulate what my opponent is doing because they're worried about getting hurt. Even though I've never hurt a sparring partner, like I'm a big dude and I hit hard, so a lot of people don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, fair enough. And I kind of wanted to, I guess, briefly backtrack to something you were talking about before with this, timeline leading into the BKFC debut, because it seemed like within there you were indicating an interest in just really keeping yourself open for whatever opportunities may present themselves. Like, are we kind of looking at, some MMA action as well this calendar year, ideally? Like maybe if you have your druthers, like get in some MMA fights while also getting in BKFC fights. Like, I guess what's the plan in that sense?
Yeah, I talked to the guys at BKFC, and they said they would love for me to continue to compete in MMA. They plan to keep me busy after I win this one. So that'd be my goal is, I hopefully do 3 MMA fights this year and 2 or 3 bare knuckle fights this year, if not more, depending on, if I get hurt or not, which I don't see happening. So I would love to come to realize that in my time away from competition is that I love competing, man. And the big thing here is a lot of people love winning. I love competing. I no longer compete from the space of I have to win. It doesn't ruin my life if I lose a fight now. I do this to test myself and to find my limits, and when I'm doing that, I can only find that through competition. If I lose something, I learn from it, I go from there, but I always want to fight as soon as possible after the fight.
Yeah, and that's kind of the impression that I get from you as well, because I think sometimes people will talk to fighters like, oh, do you want to, get redemption? Do you want to get that one back? And I mean, Greg Hardy was someone you fought. He's fought in BKFC. I was seeing some online discourse about maybe you guys running it back there, but it seems like you've got a good mindset in that regard, like just in terms of like a loss not being the end of the world and being able to, glean something from it and learn and grow and all that. So love to hear that, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. And, my coach told me something a really long time ago. It was just like, I don't believe in that. This is the guys that I had early in my career, and he's still in my corner for pretty much all my fights. He's just like, I don't believe in rematch. Just, if your paths cross again, okay. But, you win or lose, you move on, and you got to go, but you can't get hung up on that stuff. And, For a long time, I thought every time I lost a fight, I needed to redeem myself by winning the next 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's not a good place to win from, or to even compete from, because you become so dichotomous in your thinking that you can only win. And when you define yourself that dichotomous, when you define your success that dichotomous, you're really setting yourself up for, it's only two outcomes, success or failure. Whereas when you set goals for yourself, for each thing, for each time, set the goals within your preparation, set goals within your outside life, you move that way. You can take the small wins and small losses along the way and learning experiences and equal a higher possibility of a net good.
That's an awesome mindset and a great way to look at it, man. I really think that's a refreshing thing to put out there. But just, great mind in general, and something that I admittedly didn't know up until doing my research on you for this interview. I think it's really cool that you're, so involved with, teaching now. I saw the article about you being a local science teacher and just the passion working with students in that classroom dynamic, like to where you were talking about it being like your purpose outside of fighting. I'm just curious to get the insights into all of that, just like the timeline with teaching and everything. So that sounds really cool.
Yeah. So with teaching, when I didn't get re-signed by the UFC, it was right when COVID hit. So smaller promotions weren't putting fights on, but I didn't really have the opportunity to compete. So I started kind of doing other things that I've been interested throughout my life. And for me, I was always really interested in just helping people. My Eagle Scout project was creating care packages for the homeless men in Houston. In college, I worked kind of a youth outreach program over the summers. I've been involved with coaching since I was about 15, and that's always been kind of when I'm happiest is when I'm helping people. So I started working in behavioral health where after my time at the UFC. I worked in 3 or 4 different facilities, and then one of the ones that I was working at in Albuquerque closed down, but one of my friends there had transitioned into teaching as an educator. So I applied there and got a provisional license and did it. And while I do enjoy teaching, I think I'll still be involved with education, but I don't know if I'll still be in the classroom much more. Again, I've got time to decide. The next 6 months will really determine if I'm going to continue being like a traditional teacher or if I'm going to find another way to serve education in the area. But it's just, it was an interesting time to get there because I was able to reach people in a different way. And throughout my life, people have always loved the way that I explain things to them or the way that I communicate. So I kind of just applied my knowledge and applied my communication skills, and the result of that was teaching. And I enjoy doing it. I get pretty good results when I do teach. So it's been fun, and it's helped and it's served people, but I kind of want to expand it outside of the classroom and do more so with just helping people holistically in all walks of life. And that's what my social emotional learning certification was about. Just another way to serve people and help people and kind of guide them through the processes of that. And it's been very rewarding, not only for me, for the people that I've done this.
Yeah, I love hearing that, man. And just one of the last things I wanted to touch on here, just trying to be mindful of your time, because one of the things that really jumps off the page with a lot of your, MMA fights is that, finishing percentile and everything like that. Just an 80% finishing rate, very strong. I think a lot of people were, looking at things like that and just your general style and getting excited about this BKFC fight. I guess in saying that, are we thinking the broader trend continues in this fight here with a stoppage win, or are you more coming into it with, I guess, an open mindset and being adaptable with whatever may present itself in the fight, and you're not hyper fixated on the finish where you're overextending, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I've never like fixated on the finish. I'm always fixated on damage, right? That's my philosophy with fighting is, I'm trying to hurt you. I'm trying to incapacitate you in some way. So every strike is meant to make the next one a little bit more effective, and while also decreasing your ability to strike me. And that's kind of the philosophy I'm taking into this. I don't expect it, because the way I think is, man, if I'm fighting and I'm hitting you, and I'm fully present in that fight, I'm present in that moment behind each punch and everything, there's no way you're going to be able to last very long against me. And if I run into someone super durable, I'm just going to keep hitting you without you hitting me, and eventually the referee's going to stop the fight, But the way I see it is, man, I'm fighting in a way to stop your ability to fight in that moment. And that's what I think is going to happen in this one. I think, the larger guy, I have more reach. I think I'm a much more technical fighter than he is. I think I'm a lot more athletic than my opponent is. And I think when you combine all those things, it's going to be very overwhelming for that person. And then when you add behind the fact that, I'm so big, I'm so strong, and I hit so hard, especially with bare knuckles, I don't think his body can withstand the storm that I bring.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight, man. I mean, I was excited before talking to you, but the insights definitely getting me more fired up. But, repeating that sentiment about wanting to be cognizant of your time and schedule, I figured I'd put the ball in your court and see if maybe you have any final parting thought you'd like to add as we're wrapping things up here, Juan.
I'm very excited to do this. It's something new, and what a lot of people don't understand is, like, where I'm at with fighting now is I love fighting. I love competing. A lot of people love winning, and that's why they chase fighting, because they're chasing that win. I'm chasing the competition, man. I love it. I'm so excited for this, and that's what I'm just pumped about it. And especially after the tryout, and after talking to guys like John Dodson and finding out the full variety of what you can do in this sport, it got me even more excited, and it's going to be a lot of fun. The other thing is, like, I found out that, the boxing stuff is a lot more expensive than it is to do MMA. And I was talking to my buddy about this. When I was getting fight kits ordered and stuff, I used to be able to, like, get, fight shorts, my walkout shirts, stuff for all of my cornermen, and it was like less than $200. And now, like, for boxing, just for me alone, it was like $500 just to get shorts and a vest to walk out in.
Oh, damn.
So it's interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting point. I mean, I feel like I don't hear that part of it talked about as much, but it does kind of make sense, though. So interesting insights, but really excited for, this card overall, this BKFC Albuquerque card, and this Matt Adams fight coming up for you should be great, and really excited to see it all go down on January 27th, and just really wanted to thank you for appearing on Bare Knuckle Radio, and you enjoy the rest of your day, Juan. Thank you.